Good morning, Brother Chad Long here from Delhi Baptist Church. Forgive the hesitation. It wasn't showing that the recording had started, but now it shows that we're several seconds in, and I was hesitating, so I apologize for that. Been thinking a lot about last night. I thought we had a really good service Sunday morning. I just felt like the Spirit of the Lord was in that place, and I always do, honestly, but sometimes more than others. And I felt like the Lord was with me, and I thought that it was a good message, and I felt really good about Sunday morning. But last night, there was something that just didn't feel like it was, I don't know, I think it was me, honestly. And as I think about that, I recognize maybe the reason was I wasn't very good at bringing across what I was feeling like the Lord showed me. See, when the Lord called His disciples, they had a particular purpose. I mean, there was obviously not all of them were faithful to Him. Judas wasn't, but the other 11 were, and all of them and more. I mean, you can't just stop with the 12 disciples. The 11 who remained, the 12th that was put in His place, the Apostle Paul, Luke, Mark, and the Lord's brothers, James and Jude, who were not disciples, well, they were disciples, but not part of the 12. All of these men had a particular purpose, and it was to honor and glorify God while spreading the gospel. And they all did that in marvelous ways. And they had miracles that they were able to perform. Not them, but the Lord through them. And I think where I messed up last night was in focusing on just their calling and then their death the way that I did. And I ran out of time. I went over, and I didn't mean to. I've got to do better with the clock. But what I was trying to bring across, I didn't do very well. And as I was looking at Psalm, by the way, if you're wondering where we're going today, it's Psalm chapter 25, starting in verse 10. But as I was looking at the Psalm today, and we're not going to do the whole Psalm, we're just going to do 10 probably through the end of it. But as I was looking at it, it just occurred to me that my problem was that I forgot to mention, well, let me give an example. When you look at the Apostle Paul's life, while he was in the will of God and doing what God had called him to do, he was invincible. Now, let me say that nobody's invincible, but what I mean is they stoned him to death, and he got up. They beat him several times. They arrested him. There's a whole list of these in 2 Corinthians 11, but there's a lot of stuff that happened to him, and then at the end of Acts, he gets bitten by a snake that's supposedly poisonous and usually brought on death. And he just shakes it off and keeps going. And so all of these times he could have died, but then at the end of his life, he loses his head. I mean, they cut his head off at Rome. So what I'm saying is, it's not about how you die, it's about how you live for the Lord. When you're in His will and you're doing what He calls you to do, He takes care of you. And I wish I'd brought that out more. Somebody that stayed after church last night made a point to say that they were really sad to hear about how all the disciples died. And all I meant to say in their death was not talking about the tragedy of death, but just understanding that that's a possibility as a Christian, because the devil wants us dead. But I was trying to portray their strength in serving God through their life and then standing firm even though it meant their death. That's what I was trying to do. But I wish I had approached it differently. I wish if I could step back into that moment. What I really wanted to show is the way that God walks with us all the way through and delivers us out of a great many things. I would lose all manner of time if I went into all the ways just in my life that God has delivered me and kept me alive and kept me going. And COVID-19 is just the most recent example. He's protected me from it, and I know it's Him. It's not because I'm better than anyone else. He's got a job for me to do, and it doesn't fit into His plan. But I will die. I'm not invincible either. None of us are. But I've always heard, and I somewhat believe, that God's man and God's will and God's time is invincible until God's through with. I mean, he's just God's not going to permit anything to happen. It's like when they were trying to kill Jesus and shove him off several different cliffs, and his time had not come yet. It didn't mean he was invincible. Well, Jesus is invincible, but you know what I mean. He was possible for him to die, because he does, but not until the time was right. And that's the way I feel about it. So again, I didn't mean to drag on for 5 minutes, but what I'm trying to say is that I hope that I hope I can do better next time and just show instead the way that the Lord's mercies and the way His grace just delivers us out of so many things. And so I was reading Psalm 25, and there's so much here that I could talk about, but just starting verse 10, all the paths of the Lord are mercy and truth unto such as keep His covenant and His testimonies. And I think that verse jumped out at me because that's what I was talking about. The paths of the Lord, His paths, not mine, but His, are mercy and truth unto such as keep His covenant and His testimonies. For thy name's sake, O Lord, pardon mine iniquity, for it is great. And that's how I feel. I know that I don't do things I used to do. I mean, I'm not, I don't drink or drug or run around with my wife or any of those things. I mean, I don't do all of those things, but I do still sin, and I do need His pardon. And one of the ways I feel like I need His forgiveness is last night. I just don't think that I was the best representative for Him that I could have been last night. I really am grieved over that. Nobody else would tell you this probably because they're such good folks, but I was just I was disappointed in the message and the way that it was shared. I don't know how else to say it. But for thy name's sake, O Lord, pardon mine iniquity, for it is great. What man is he that feareth the Lord? Him shall He teach in the way that he shall choose. His soul shall dwell at ease, and his seed shall inherit the earth. Now that's comforting to know that those of us who are willing to be taught and willing to follow the Lord and willing to listen to Him, our soul will dwell at ease. There's a peace coming that we can't begin to understand. And I think we get a piece of it while we're here. I've got a certain peace right now, just knowing God's with me even when I really don't deserve Him. His seed shall inherit the earth. This is just a reference to what's coming, because His seed, the Lord's seed, is those who love Him, those who are born again, those who follow Him, and they're going to inherit a new earth and a new heaven and a new earth. They're going to have a new Jerusalem to live in. Verse 14: the secret of the Lord is with them that fear Him, and He will show them His covenant. And that's just a reference to the things He reveals to us that love Him. Not everybody gets that. Mine eyes are ever toward the Lord, for He shall pluck my feet out of the net. Now that just means if you keep your eyes on Him, He's going to pull you through. And again, He did that for those disciples. I mean, they didn't die immediately. They all were able to live a successful ministry for Christ. They were tragically killed eventually, but that didn't happen right away, and I wished I had pointed that out. I don't mean to keep referencing last night, but I was just reading this and it hit me. Anyway, turn thee unto me and have mercy upon me, for I am desolate and afflicted. The troubles of my heart are enlarged. Oh, bring thou me out of my distresses. We all have them, and we need the Lord to help us through them. Whatever I was dealing with last night, I can't put a finger on it, but I know I need the Lord to pull me out of it. Verse 18, look upon mine affliction and my pain, and forgive all my sins. Now that's redundant because He keeps asking for forgiveness, but we have to keep doing that to clear the air between us and our holy God, our righteous God, our just God, who loves us and has forgiven us and saved us. But at the same time, there's these fellowship breakers that happen every day, and we've got to clear that out. We've got to talk to Him. He wants to hear from us anyway. Some of us will call a family member every day, but not call upon the Lord every day, and that's sad. Consider mine enemies, for they are many, and they hate me with cruel hatred. My only real enemy is Satan, but he does hate me. He hates me with a passion, and he hates you too if you love Jesus. You may not like to hear that, but it's true. Oh, keep my soul and deliver me. Let me not be ashamed, for I put my trust in Thee. And by the way, He won't. He won't let you be ashamed that you put your trust in Him. You'll never regret that decision. I'm convinced of it. I will never regret that decision. Nowhere in my life will I ever look back and say, I wished I'd done something besides serve the Lord. I will never, ever feel that way. Let integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait on thee. Redeem Israel, O God, out of all his troubles. Now, I started to leave that last verse out because Israel doesn't really apply to what we're talking about, but at the same time, all of Scripture applies. When there's a reference to Israel, I just remember that at that time, that may be speaking to Israel directly, but spiritually speaking, the entire Bible is talking to us. There's sections of it that's very specific about who it's talking to. For example, there are letters in Revelation written to specific churches who are not here anymore, but their spiritual application we made too. So I'm not going to leave it out. I'm just going to remember that redeeming Israel, there's also a picture of redeeming us. Redeeming everybody He redeemed. Everybody He paid to save. Because we all do have troubles. And we're going to have troubles. We're going to go through things. But the Lord will deliver you out of them, and He will take care of you until such time as He's through with us, and then He'll bring us home. I look at it like this. When I had a secular job, I went to work. And I did that job the best I could, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't all fun. There were times I hated my job, but for the most part, I enjoyed it or I wouldn't have stayed. And the good times outweighed the bad. That's why I stayed. At the end of the day, when I was weary and my work was through for that day, I got to go home. And that's the way I look at this. We're here for a period of time, and we're to enjoy it the best we can, but enjoy it for His sake. Enjoy it for Him. Do the best we can for Him. And at the end, when we're weary, when our bodies are about to give out, and when we've done all physically we can do for Him, we get to go home. And forever be with Him. That's comforting to me. I hope it's comforting to you. And I hope that you see what I see here. But, study it for yourself. But that's just what spoke to me this morning. I hope that it helps you. I hope that you have a wonderful day. May God bless you.